We're going to talk about the role of government in Web3. I'm wondering if you could let the audience know how you got to Web3 and your journey to doing what you're doing at the City of Buenos Aires.
Well, I got into Web3, I would say it was 2017 or 18, and I was mostly interested in the financial aspect of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blah, blah. And as I had a lot of experience in tech, I started up and run tech companies for almost 15 years. I got to understand and to study the technology underlying cryptocurrencies, and it really blew my mind up. I say, hey man, this is amazing. The possibilities that this brings are incredible. So as I have a role in government, I started sort of envisioning what aspects of Web3 could apply to make better governments, to make better communities, and I got really involved into that.
You're pretty modest about what you've been doing in Argentina and in Buenos Aires, and I know that you're deeply committed to public good. Maybe if you could just tell the audience a little bit about your role in government in Argentina, what mandates you've had, and kind of what's led you to the mandate you have now.
Well, I'm the Secretary of Innovation of the City of Buenos Aires. For those who don't know, Buenos Aires is the capital of Argentina. It's a 3 million cities that live every day there, but a kind of 7 million people city, because we have nearly 4 million people that come every day to work at the city. And last year, I would say it would be August or September, I made a call to the crypto community in Argentina, which is rather large. We have several different projects there and several different entrepreneurs. And I requested, or I proposed, hey, why don't we start building a self-sovereign ID system? Why? Because I am convinced that being able, the great advantage that crypto proposes, or the blockchain proposes, is being able of transmitting digital trust, which was something that we were not able of doing as a society before. And if we are able of using Web3 technologies in order to ensure trust on a digital basis, the leapfrog that the development of society could take is amazing. And I was really very lucky because the crypto community in Argentina got really involved with that. And today, we have a new protocol, which is Quark ID, which I am presenting this Friday in the DevCon. And we're starting to roll out the MVP in November, and we started to onboard Buenos Aires citizens in January. So we are really excited about that. And as a sort of ecosystem of partners got developed on top of the Quark ID, as we speak, Quark ID is being implemented in Gibraltar, Nueva León, Mexico. We're having conversations with several people in Colombia, and we're also implemented it, not we, but our partners are implementing Quark ID in several different locations in Argentina. So we're really excited about it.
Cool. And yeah, everyone should go check out Diego's talk on the digital identity platform on Friday. A lot of us here are not from Latin America. We're not from Colombia. We're certainly not from Argentina. What is happening here and in Argentina that is creating kind of the conditions for acceptance and legitimacy publicly around this technology?
Well, it's a two-side story. I mean, it has one side which is beautiful, which is Argentina and Buenos Aires has this strong and thriving entrepreneur community. We have one of the biggest unicorns per population ratio in the world. And Argentina is full of entrepreneurs, is full of talent, and that is amazing. The sad part of the story is that what I think that was a great thing that promoted crypto adoption is the awful economic situation in our country. To be honest, the government is doing whatever it can to promote crypto adoption. Why? Because we have a 100% plus year inflation. We have strict capital controls. I mean, we cannot sell or buy dollars or any other currency because the government forfeits that. And we have a subsidized electricity. So, I mean, I think that if any government would say, how do we promote crypto adoption? Okay, that's the best way of doing it. People go into crypto because they have no other alternative in the form of financial system. The nice part of this terrible thing, because our country is suffering, poverty is going up, and I mean, we're going for a really hard time, which I am convinced that we will get through it. The nice part is that the crypto adoption is one of the highest in the world, and the crypto project development is thriving.
Amazing. Governments aren't known for being really innovative.
Kind of an oxymoron, being Secretary of Innovation of the government.
Yeah, I mean, talk to us about that. Like, what coming in as a tech entrepreneur yourself into government? What are kind of some of the bureaucratic institutions, systems, processes that for you in terms of advancing Web3 digital adoption you really have to tackle?
Well, I got involved into government 10 years ago to help a friend. And he called me to be his chief of staff of a big institution, which is the Ministry of Education. My initial proposal was, you know what, I'm going to stay with you for 2 years, and then I'm going back. And I got so excited about learning new things, because honestly, managing and being a leader in the public sector, you need to develop a completely new set of skills. And I always kind of play with the idea that honestly, government works a lot like a DAO. And why is that? Because I have a chief, which is the chief of government of the Buenos Aires city, and it's not enough for me to convince him of doing something. If I don't convince, most of my colleagues, my project's going to fail for sure, because I need their support in order to succeed. And that is something that for people that are not involved in government, that is not so well known. But I spend a lot of time sort of gathering support and convincing people of the things we're doing. At least sort of avoiding confrontation. And in my humble perspective, in order to succeed in doing whatever, innovation, of course, in government, you need to spend quite a lot of time in convincing people, or sort of doing an elevator pitch to a lot of people. Say, hey, you know what? This thing that I'm promoting, this thing that I'm doing is good because that. And that is a very important thing, and I really enjoy it.
So it's kind of ironic that a lot of governments who are advancing public good have been looking to private blockchains for solutions around digital identity. Can you talk about, the city's kind of analysis around that? Just thoughts on, why should governments, take on the risk of still not totally proven public blockchains as opposed to private blockchain technology?
To be completely honest, I don't get why anybody would use a private permission blockchain. If I'm going to do a private permission blockchain, let's put a big server or I don't know, whatever thing in the cloud. The idea of permissionless blockchains is precisely that we can have a common hub of trust, and we can build an ecosystem, solutions, and several different things on top of that platform of trust. Why would anyone build a private blockchain? Why don't we build private intranets? We had that. It was called intranets, and they failed. So honestly, for me, private blockchains are the intranets of the 90s. So it makes no sense. We need to use, and we need to be on top of public blockchains. As a government, as an institution, as a big company, whatever thing you are, you need to rely on public blockchains because security is better. They get better decentralization. And the most important part of it is that the community is there. You are there. Everybody that's at DEPCON is there. And that is what creates value. That creates and unleashes a value that we can not even think about it. And that's the whole idea that we're pursuing.
Do you have allies? Are there other governments that are willing to take on the risk of public blockchains?
Oh, yeah. To be honest, private blockchaining is kind of a trend today in governments. I'm fighting as hard as I can to going against that trend. And I have the support of a lot of members in the Ethereum community, which kind of share the same vision. I think that I mean, under the hood, many government officials and many of the guys responsible of this developing these private blockchains have already seen that that is a dead end. I don't know. I think that we have these kind of things, sort of the two of them being alive, but at the end of the day, I think that public blockchains, Ethereum, and whichever layers two will definitely succeed.
So without getting too much into the weeds on the digital identity platform, because I do want people to go see your talk at DevCon on Friday, governance obviously comes up as a question for how, if the government is going to adopt a public blockchain, how, and you know, citizens are going to need to be involved in that. What are some of the governance challenges you're thinking about in terms of maintaining accountability and transparency for how that technology is used for something so critical, which is people's identity?
Well, I don't want to spoil my Friday's talk, but what we developed, I mean, what we contribute to develop is a protocol which is called Quark ID, and I invite you all to go and visit the site quarkid.org. With, as I mentioned, a whole set of partners from the private system in Argentina and around the world. That protocol acts as a layer free. So that protocol has several different characteristics. The first one being is there's no private data on chain. All of the data is stored in your physical device, in your mobile phone or whatever. Every wallet, we have today 3 wallets that are being developed. One is the Quark ID protocol wallet, and the other one is from OS City, and the other one is from Xcapit, 2 crypto wallets. Every wallet needs to be non-custodial. We don't want to have these kind of workarounds of storing passwords or whatever. And the protocol is multi-chain. So anyone implementing the protocol may choose in which blockchain do they anchor the security of the protocol. Today it's anchored in Ethereum, it's anchored in Polygon, it's anchored in Starknet, and it's anchored in RSK, which is an EVM-compatible blockchain that uses Bitcoin as a security layer. But I mean, you can anchor the protocol in whichever blockchain do you wish to use. And the most important thing is that the protocol itself, I mean, we don't get involved in the governance of the blockchains that we use. We as a city decided to use Starknet, which is a roll-up, a CK roll-up in the Ethereum world. We decided to use Starknet as our first security layer. We will have for sure at least two, because we cannot risk the blockchain as a failure. And as I mentioned, you can use whichever blockchain you wish, and the governance of the protocol, although it's defined in the white paper, we have a first proposal there, we will turn the protocol into a DAO, and that will happen in the next, I would say, 24 to 36 months. Today, we are kind of making decisions on top of the protocol with this set of partners and cities that have adopted the protocol in this first place.
That's so fascinating that a government is living the dream of what we're all trying to live here in Web3, which is, you know, decentralizing out to the community. It's really incredible that, you know, you're driving this. You know, you've found a use case for communities, individuals really taking charge of what's good for them, defining public good outside of a government context. What are some of the challenges or even just strategies you're thinking about in terms of like DAOifying, you know, a municipal government?
Well, this is kind of a wild thought, but if any one of us starts to envision how communities and countries and cities will govern themselves in the next 20 years, I think that I have 3 daughters, 19, 17, and 15 years old. Imagining that my daughters, when they become my age, will govern their communities in the same way that we have been governing our communities for the last 200 years, for me it makes no sense. Why? Because we have today the technology in order to make people being able of participating and getting involved in decisions. I mean, today we elect officials that create laws in name of us for the next, let's say, 4 years, 6 years, whatever. And today we're able of getting involved in the decision makings of a community. I don't know how that change will occur, but I know that communities, neighborhoods, cities, eventually countries will change in the next 20 to 30 years the way that we make our community decisions. It makes no sense that we elect a group of people that make every decision for us. That will change. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it will change for sure, in my humble perspective.
Yeah, I think there's so much we can learn from you, that we as a Web3 space can learn from you, and there's so much opportunity for collaboration. It is mind-boggling when you stop and think about how we've done representative democracy, as you say, that we've elected one person to make decisions across every vertical area of our public lives, and how can we think about, breaking that up. How can the Web3 community help you? What's your experience been getting involved in the Web3 space? What do you think are opportunities for us to collaborate?
I'd like to make a small explanation on what you just said. I do think that, let's say, for example, a city mayor is kind of a city CEO. He needs to decide when the police does something, the hospital ambulance is getting the city cleaned, and you need someone doing that job on a CEO style. What I do think is that making laws, making the rules by which we live, which definitely are not something that we need to decide in the next 30 seconds, that will get the communities involved in a completely different manner. I'm going to say something kind of controversial regarding the Web3 space, which is, and I was speaking yesterday with the EF about this, which is, I consider myself part of the Web3 space because I am into the technology, and I studied it, and I am I am developing a project regarding Web3. But I think that we need to open our doors. I think that we need to invite people who are not from the Web3 space into the Web3 space. And I love the DevCon we collaborated in doing FLATAM just 2 months ago. But the problem then, a lot of friends of mine that work in companies and have decision-making roles in their lives say, hey, you know what, Diego, we really don't understand when you guys are speaking. The words you use, the terms you quote, the sentences that you put out are completely incomprehensible. And I think that a challenge that we have in order to go, someone before us was speaking, we have nearly 300 million users out of almost 8 billion people living in the world. And if we want to go to 4 billion people, those 4 billion people won't be developers. And maybe they won't even know what a blockchain does, or maybe they don't know it conceptually, but not in detail. And I think that we need to start making, events, gatherings, chats or whatever, in order to promote and get the technology out of this niche that we are living today.
That's a call for action for us. How can we help you with the digital identity strategy?
Well, I think that I don't think that the digital identity strategy is something for Buenos Aires. I think that we're collaborating in building a public good. So it's open source, it's out and open for everyone and anyone who can use it, who will use it, who can contribute to it. And I really think that once humans have a digital identity of their own, in which they can hold credentials and show them whenever they wish, regardless of the government or the company or whatever credential issuer gives out the credential, I think that we would be much more empowered. And my call would be, hey, let's do these kind of things. Let's unite people which are in a decision-making role in order to say, hey, you know what? This is the way to go. You need to lose control to gain possibilities.
I love it. Well, let's go back to Buenos Aires and invite the public.
Let's, please.
Diego, thank you so much. Grateful for you being here and sharing what's happening in your country with us.
I love it. Sean, thank you so much for inviting me.